slowly. We call it the step, crossover, and shuffle. Okay? I start from this position where my hacksaw is driven in back a ways. I'm able to apply the leg pressure to him. This foot's going to step as I pick up his arm. Now I'm going to cross over and shuffle. I'm going to move in and hack a fraction of a second before this foot actually comes down. I grind. There's my step. There's my crossover. There's my shuffle. Once more. I step. I'm sticking to his arm. I happen to be picking it up on the outside. I cross over, two-hand feed. I come in and hack a fraction of a second before the foot goes down. Okay, let's watch this now as we go in the other direction, give you a different perspective on it. Start from the lock. I apply the grind, cue, pick this up again. There's the crossover, here's the shuffle. The hack you can hear occurs a fraction of a second before the foot comes down in place. I grind, here I'm picking this up on the inside, feed it across. I could have just as easily picked it up outside, but I'm going to pick it up on the inside, feed it across, hack, fraction of a second before the foot hits the base. Grind, picking this up outside, feeding across, come in and hack, a fraction of a second before the foot hits the floor. I want my weight dropping into that. Like Lanka 1, Lanka 2 is well suited for early, mid, or late game. That's because its stance is open. As such, you can move into it immediately. Leg contact is made by aligning my shin on my opponent's calf, or the outside of his lower leg. On a scale of 1 to 5, the risk factor in this position is low. It's a very safe 1. The risk is low simply because I can do to my opponent what he has no prayer of doing to me. On the other hand, Lanka 2's combat potential is only moderate. It's 3 on a scale of 1 to 5. And this is because the damage that I can inflict on him is less. When I was in Lanka 1, I could do significant damage immediately. Here, I can do less. However, I can still upset his balance, and doing less doesn't mean it's going to end up that way. It simply takes a couple of steps. I bend it, genuflect on his leg. So its latent or hidden combat potential is deceptively high. With Lanka 2, the neat thing is we are really into position, position, position. In this C-lot method, we use continuous contact to gain optimal positional advantage. Angulation in this method, like Lanka 1A before it, is toward my partner's back and outside. Again, I want to follow that in all our A methods. This is what we're trying to do. Contact was maintained throughout. I grind, he backs up. I'm just sticking to him the whole way. Contact is maintained throughout. You want to get the student comfortable this close. And this continuous contact reinforces the preeminent fighting principle of Indonesian fighting arts, adhesion. That's why we call all our A methods our C-lot methods. Although I discussed the hacksaw in detail in Indonesian Fighting Fundamentals and Fighting Arts of Indonesia, identifying its connection to the adhesion principle, I've really got to make some comments about it here. Maximum effect for the hacksaw is gained when you couple the shoulder and hip rotation with a heavy forearm and a relaxed hand. As much as possible, you begin your hacksaw with your shoulders square onto the target. Contact starts here, close to the wrist, and moves up your forearm. I'm going to come in and strike, like so. Now once contact is made, and I've hit this, then I rotate my shoulders and my hips and drive in. This provides depth for my movement. Relaxing my hand and letting it flop almost around the guy, okay, towards his back, is like throwing a chain, and it adds the needed penetration. Make sure you don't do this. What you need are all your muscles working in harmony and going in the same direction. Now, I'm beating on Ron here, but I'm doing it in a training method. In training, we hit high on the ribs. Try not to down on the floaters. You want to hit up high, let it sink into it. You will definitely want to use this hacksaw on the body of your taller opponent. If you really want to pummel him in the head, you just got to lower him down first by whacking him in the ribs. Then you can have him kiss that and bonus, take the elbow. Conversely, if you're sufficiently taller than your opponent, I'm a little taller than Rick, you can apply the hacksaw to his neck or face. I can be in here, go hacksaw into here, use a palm to the face, I can peel him backward. However, I still feel that the hacksaw to the body has more options than going high. For example, from this hacksaw position, I can hit him in the groin, back up to the face. I can even hyperextend his arm. Now I can do that from above if I'm in this position here, but I can only go so far because my own leg position makes this one difficult. That's why the low line, for me, works better. But enough about the hacksaw. Let's return to the Lanka II lock. The effectiveness of your hacksaw directly affects your ability to apply the lock. Conversely, your foot position also affects the effectiveness of your hacksaw, and therefore your lock. Using a clock face on the floor, let's look at our foot placement and position. Right now, I'm in the optimal foot position for Lanka II. This is what I call the 8 o'clock position. Ideally, you want to be in the 7:30 position, or if you're doing this with left on his right, it'd be the 4:30 position. But it's easier to say 8 and 4. It's just easier for me, it still makes the point. In this Lanka, you want to avoid 9 o'clock, 6 o'clock, or 3 o'clock foot placement positions. Watch this. I get into 9 o'clock, all he needs to do to affect my balance is that. I get into the 6 o'clock position, same thing. This is because he's controlling me as much as I'm trying to control him. Now in Lanka 1, I can get on that 6 o'clock position, apply my grind and my lock, because I'm twisting his axis and I have his balance effectively taken out of it. He can't spin out of it in a way that I can't pick it up or control any counterattack he might throw on me. Again, the weakness here exists because I have his arm across my body. To neutralize this weakness, I need good foot placement and I need a strong hack to shift his weight. Once I do, he's not neutralizing this. That's the basic leg drill. It follows our rule of keeping my shin oriented on my opponent and on his nearest leg. Of the two stances I ask you to remember, this one, like Lanka 1, uses an open stance. Of the 3 methods, this one maintains continuous contact, almost swimming through the guy. You may be thinking, you know, if Bob just angles in front, it should be a whole lot simpler, just a simple zigzag. And you'd be right. Angling in front in this case would be simpler and much more efficient. However, it is also much riskier because you're stepping right into his line of fire. To step in front without some way of neutralizing his threat is suicide. For that, we use Lanka 2B. This Lanka uses the simpler shuffle and step pattern we used before. I've described most of these patterns as either shuffle and step or step and shuffle. Although they're not all either of those two, most are. And knowing that provides one more tool to help you understand and assimilate them. What we're going to do now is Lanka 2B, back and forth without comment, and we'll break it down for you. let's break down what we're doing in the drill. This uses the same basic pattern that you've seen already. In this Kuntao method, we step right into his rear hand's line of fire. But we neutralize the threat that presents by hitting him first. I'm going to walk through the pattern, show you how we're doing this. Starting from here, I get my partner started in the position where his weight is back off the other leg. Now, as I grind, he fires, step in front, and I fire immediately. That's what takes care of this rear gun. Then I feed it across, line up. My hand is here close to the elbow. I hack, drive him back. Again, shuffle, and step. The hack hits a fraction of a second before the foot does. Once more, I shuffle across and punch. That shifts his weight back. Then I feed the arm, come in, and hack. Once more, punch. So I do block right and punch. Feed the arm across, come in, hack and lock. Let's break it down some more. If Lanka 2A shows the C-lock connection with its focus on evasion and adhesion, then Lanka 2B reveals a clear Kuntao connection with its focus on striking to shift the opponent's weight back, thereby quickly gaining positional advantage. The Kuntaoer routinely breaks contact, admittedly giving up some adhesion, only to return to it as his striking makes that possible. When you step in on the guy, be careful that you don't step too far. I'm bringing my foot up to the same line that his foot is on. It's up to the same line. This line is about that wide. It's about the width of his foot. If it's at an angle, it's a narrower line. If it's straight on, it's a wider line. I can step anywhere on that line, but up to it, not past it. Farther, and you better really be quick, because you're having to hit him and you're already closer to his gun. Okay? Likewise, if you're too short, you're not going to be able to reach him. Right about here, and you're in perfect range. That's the depth. If I take the breadth of this and I move out to here, I'm at maximum reach right there. Any further and you're going to miss it. Remember, you're shuffling or you're stepping. Neither is a lunge, by the way. The difference between a shuffle and a shuffle, the back foot draws up. If you were fencing and you lunged, the back foot would stay there. So don't leave your trailing foot back there. Even if you take a long step forward, bring your back foot up. Let's look now at a possible application for Lanka 2. You saw this technique before in Lanka 1C. It was done with a right punch from a right lead attack. That was that training position that we told you about. We want to revisit the attack, this time with Neil in a more realistic Western fighting position, where he's got his left foot forward, and he fires a right cross. Boom! Here. Once I hit him now, I'm in Lanka 2. I can buckle this and then step to his other leg, rolling his ankle. Or I can buckle this, turn his leg out, genuflect. I might suddenly make him a very religious man. We're still doing Lanka 2 on his calf right here, which validates the point that you can take practically any hand technique and apply this leg work to it. One more time. As he feeds, 1, 2, 3, buckle, step in, roll the other ankle, or buckle, genuflect. Take a hand technique, apply the leg work to it. These Lankas are good in practically any situation. Here's a right grab and push that you would think would be set up for the right lead. Because as the guy's in a right lead here, this is the, I want to intimidate you, I'm using my strong side position. And you'd think, well, he's set up for Lanka 1. We're not going to do that because things happen. As he pushes, 1, 2, pop him, shoot. Now I move in, take him down, finish him up with whatever I want. I might even take a digit or two. You can use them for anything. Works well in the early game, works well in the mid game, late game. You never know where your position's going to be. You need to practice Lanka 1, you need to practice Lanka 2. The gear shifting analogy works well here. First gear is the punch. Second gear, the hacksaw, it takes up where the punch leaves off. And third gear, that's your lock and grind. As before, each gear has its own purpose, place, and timing. I've spent enough time on a drag strip to know you really want to avoid shifting gears either too soon or too late. Let's move now to Lanka 2C. I'm abusing my friend Rick Guzman here. Would you look at the guns on this guy? Lanka 2C uses the same pattern that we used in Lanka 2A. The difference is it uses Kuntao tactics, striking in other words, to gain the desired position. Watch for that as we walk through the pattern. And as before, we'll walk through it a couple of times and then we'll break it down afterwards. Look at the pattern should refresh your memory. It's the same one we used in Lanka 2A, only this time we're using striking to set up our position. That said, let's do it. Going to do a hack to the ribs. Get his weight back so I can apply the leg lock. As I grind, he steps back and fires his punch, and I'm going to diagonal line off here, feed, do the crossover, and now I'm going to come in and shuffle. Again, I apply the pressure here. He steps back. I do a step outside of him, but instead of working to the outside, I simply shoot this, trail over, keeping his arm in alignment between he and I. Then I come in and drive the hacksaw in again, anchoring his arm down. One more time, I grind. Stepping off here, I went from this position to that position, so I've done a step, crossover, and this foot goes right in. It doesn't follow the line to get in, but remember the line is only to show you my body position and alignment. Then I hack it. This next technique is from our form elbow exercise, and we're just going to take a movement out of it. You might have a party crasher here. Put your hands on him. No, but you can't come in. Then he decides he's going to come in anyway. Stick him. Pop, elbow here. Smack him in the head to turn him around. Pop this elbow now, smash the leg, and take the other one. You can always pop, peel him back, and do all kinds of other nasty things to him from here. Okay? Again, rip. And we'll hold his ground, not going anywhere. Stick him, pop, shift off. So now I'm angling behind him, but I'm doing so with striking. Smash. Take this. Pop. Now I've got his leg. Lanka 2. Works for me. You may be thinking this is not Lanka 2, but it is. Because Lanka 2 is identified by observing the one rule. My shin oriented on my opponent's near leg. That is his near leg. It's identified by the open stance. This is an open stance. And it's identified by shin on calf. Sometimes, it's my right shin on his left calf, but not always. This is Lanka 2. so's this. Throughout Lanka 2, we followed our one rule, shin oriented on the opponent's near leg. We've used the first of two stances, an open stance. We used all three methods, silat, kuntao, and kuntao silat. We've affected his cone of balance, keeping him right on the edge. Just as anchoring my elbow on my hip kept me from pushing my opponent too far and losing him in Lanka 1, here pulling on my opponent's outstretched arm without my thumb does the same thing. It keeps him from falling out of his cone of balance. Lanka 2 can be used in all three phases of a fight, early, mid, and late game. Granted, most fights don't last more than a few seconds, and the overwhelming majority of those seldom make it out of the early game. But there are times when you must do more. That stretches it out. My point is, Lanka 1 and 2 are used and are useful in all phases of a fight, but they're especially useful in the early game. Lanka 2 has only moderate potential, 3 out of a possible 5. It has very low risk though, 1 out of a possible 5. However, very low risk doesn't mean no risk. Every tool, every tactic, every technique can be countered. I'll have Dave demonstrate how easy it is to counter my low risk position. I've got him here, he rolls. Again, very low risk doesn't mean no risk. Having positional advantage is not enough. You have to exploit it or lose it, or worse.